Hello and welcome to Happy Horror Time. My name's Tim Murdoch.
And my name is Matt Emmert. Hey, Tim, you know what song I was just thinking of?
Rumors by Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, because I was singing it before I'm tired of rumors starting.
It's a what's that called?
A bop.
It's a bop.
That's
Matt.
what the kids say today, Tim. It's true. When it's like a good, like a fun song that gets in your head, it's a bop.
It's the 20th anniversary.
Wait, it came out the same year as Mean Girls?
Yeah, I think so. Or maybe 2005.
Look, I'm tired of rumors starting, okay?
It's either 2004 or 2005. I did have the album.
And did you also have Paris Hilton's album? I bet you did.
You know what? It was burnt for me. It was burnt. Remember people used to
when
burn?
you're like making mix CDs and things? Oh,
Someone burnt that song.
wow.
The Stars Are Blind or something.
If I had to pick between Lindsay Lohan's album and Paris Hilton's, I'd pick Lindsay's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
wasn't Lindsay Lohan like an actual singer?
Synced, like they're synth.
Yeah, but wasn't Lindsay Lohan an actual singer?
Sure.
I'm tired of. Okay, anyway, happy autumn.
I mean, she's a very talented young lady.
She always was. Always was. You know what? I wanted to say happy autumn, everyone. We are finally out of the summer, but
are we out of the woods?
Not for LA.
I was sweating a little bit today in my car.
It has been still 80s, a little bit of 90s. If it hits October and it's not in at least the 70s as a high, I'm gonna go nuts.
The people in Ohio are probably like, please,
they're like, shut the fuck.
Yeah, we live for those days.
And speaking of Ohio, hopefully all of you listeners caught our last interview, which was with first-time writer-director of a feature film, Parker Brennan, who's an Ohioan, like Tim. They talked about
a fellow Buckeye.
And we also had the one, the only Nancy Loomis from the original Halloween. Yes, I kept it together. I felt like I was mature about it, right?
You were I felt like you were doing the news like Tom Brokaw.
Tom Brokaw dated reference. No, I mean, like,
let me get another one.
Okay.
Anderson Cooper.
Yeah, that's better. I thought you were gonna say like one of the CNN people who's been like fired, like who is it? Cuomo? What wasn't one of them
you
got
think
fired?
I'm gonna know that?
Oh, there was another one.
But I do know who Cuomo is.
Don Lemon was fired. So many people are fired. So many
remember
newscasters.
Megyn Kelly? They had a movie called Bombshell.
Well, yes. She was the one at the. Oh God,
wait, who played it? Nicole Kidman.
One of them, her or
Margot Robbie.
Oh, you mean Barbie? Wow.
Who was
okay,
the other girl in
tangents
that?
galore. There was a third one and I can't remember.
I know, and I actually saw Bombshell in the theater.
I saw Bombshell too. It was a good movie. Anyway, I was gonna say about autumn. Well, no, I was gonna say about the last interview. It was great. If you haven't caught Hauntology, it's available to rent or buy on demand on Amazon and Apple TV. And it was just, it's one of those anthology films that like nothing like it exists today, especially because like to have that type of representation for like the queer community and all different types. The cool thing was, and we talked about this with Parker, is there was such a diverse amount of queer people in this. It's like I think a lot of people think like, oh, you're gay, you're lesbian, that's it. But there's so many, or you're trans, that's it. There was so much representation. It's spooky. It has a lot of stars. I mean, I know we keep talking about Nancy Loomis, but it has Naomi Grossman from American Horror Story, who was Peppa. Do you remember her from?
I am not a.
Oh, you didn't watch American Horror Story?
But I only watched certain seasons.
She does quite the transformation to be Pepper. In fact, it's like it reminds me of this movie today. It's almost like how much will you let your appearance change for something? But it was a good interview, and so hopefully you guys caught it. But what else happened last weekend was Tim went to see his brother for his big 50th birthday bash in Palm Springs.
That's right. His husband put together, like, there was lots of little gatherings and there was like cakes and drinking, and we rented out restaurants and we were by the pool. Like, my brother and his husband really know how to do it up.
My sister is like that in terms of just the planning and getting things like figured out. Is your brother like, is it, okay, we're doing this at 12, we're doing this at 4?
He's not that rigid. I mean, like, it's like, but he does give people a lot of free time. From like 1 to 5, you can like go walk around Palm Springs or do whatever you want. Most people just laid out by the pool, but I actually burnt my back.
Oh, why didn't you use sunblock or something?
I did, but I used 30, but I still got a little. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not walking around like with a golden tan.
Well, I think it depends. If you go in the pool and then come out, some of it can go off. And also you have to reapply.
I did.
It is weird that like we're just talking about happy autumn and you just had like a weekend in Palm Springs.
I won. I went to a casino and I won $222 playing the Wizard of Oz.
222. Congrats.
Yep.
It was the penny slots, right?
Yeah.
You are always good on those.
Here's even the best part. Like, it's a casino apparently I've never been to in Palm Springs, and I got a card and they give you $20 of free play.
That's
so I really didn't put $1 in.
Wait, you can start. I always thought when you get that free play, they match like your first 20. You're saying they gave you 20 as a gift to start?
Right. They're like, here's a card and here's $20.
Oh my God.
So I really just walked in there and walked out, and maybe I'll pay a bail.
I was going to say, maybe you can buy me dinner.
No, see, that's the thing. Like,
no,
Matt. See, I got to pay my bills because, like, I'm no longer a roommate with anyone, so I don't split everything. I'm just poor.
I'm just poor on my own now.
Yeah. I was poor before.
We've got a big party to put on that we spend a lot of money on, our Halloween party. So we could use.
Part in this.
Yeah, that is true.
I will contribute red cups.
The funny thing is that if you've heard this podcast for a while, you hear that Jacob and I throw an annual big Halloween party, and Tim obviously is always there, always very supportive, but he hates setting up. And it's funny because for me, that's like one of the most fun things.
I know, that's your thing, and we both bring something to the table.
You attend.
I attend it, and I drink your booze.
You're right. No, I love the decorating aspect because you're like putting up a display and it's all Halloween stuff. But I guess I thought Tim would be into that, but no, he is not into that.
Because here's the thing: my job for the past 17 years is putting on parties and stuff like that, and I do love my job, but I associate it with like work.
Well, that's yeah. I guess I can see that, but it's like it almost sounds like you're an event planner.
No.
But I know you do help with parties and things, and you're right. Like everyone has the thing that they're into specifically. But
I'll help clean up. I mean,
but I would never like. So I used to have friends help me clean up. Now we actually we first have a very nice cleaning lady who comes in and does like the cleaning up, and then I can put the decorations away. It's so much easier when all like the trash and bottles and things, because we usually have close to 100 people there, so there's a lot of cleanup.
Not at one time, right?
Well, probably in throughout the night.
Hours?
Usually in the peak hours is when the most people are there at the same time, but luckily there's a lot of like overlap. Some people come early, some people come late, so it never feels too congested, but it's like a good amount of people that it feels like a good party.
Right.
You know?
Like I was invited to 7 parties that Saturday, so I'll try.
And you're going to only one.
Wow.
Ours.
You guys, you heard it here first. I'm a prisoner.
He is, and he loves it. But another thing I wanted to talk about, we have some exciting news, listeners. So if you're listening to this and you live in Los Angeles, Tim, Jacob, and myself are going to be part of an upcoming event next month, October, in Los Angeles area. So they are doing, the event is called Queer Diaspora Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street. And if that title sounds familiar to you, it's because there's the documentary Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, and they're doing a screening of that documentary. And then we are participating in like a roundtable discussion afterward with 2 other podcasters, Nick and Joseph from the Fish Jelly podcast. The event is being put on by a filmmaker. His name is Gregorio Davila. And again, it's going to be a screening of the documentary followed by this roundtable discussion. Jacob is going to be moderating it. Tim and I are participating. And it's just going to be chill. We're just talking about the documentary, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, and just like the whole point of, if you've seen this documentary, you know it's about Mark Patton and the movie being the gayest nightmare ever, and the effects on his career and how it took him a while before he could come back and feel comfortable with being himself because he got a lot of shit. If you haven't seen the documentary.
I own the documentary. I own the soundtrack. You and I were lucky enough to see it at Warner Brothers. Like, I love this documentary. I think it's so inspiring, and there's moments where it's sad, but I no joke, I love the music. It really takes you to no pun intended, to a dreamy place.
It's good fun. Yeah, it's great because it's like it covers both. If you're a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, it's kind of about that film, but specifically through the lens of Mark Patton and his career and all of the, at first, kind of negative feedback he got for his portrayal, and it was so gay and the movie was this and that, and then how he moved away and really like disappeared from the limelight for decades, and then coming back and kind of facing the writers and directors and talking to them about, like, you know, if they knew about the subtext and why they did it, and if they knew how it affected his career. And it's just, but it's very, I guess I want to say kind of satisfying because it's poignant, it's moving, and we're going to talk about it. But
also, like in 1985, you know, people were not embracing gayness at all. Like, I mean, now Hollywood's, I'm not saying all gay, but it's very gay friendly.
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, I think that, again, a lot of people who may not have been alive or around at that time and maybe say they're growing up in this time and think maybe it's easy to come out. It definitely wasn't then, especially if you want to be a successful actor.
I don't think it was. I don't think it's ever easy to come out, but
No.
I would say it's been easier within like the past 10 years.
Yeah, I think it's easier because it's more in mainstream culture. Back then, it definitely was not. And Mark Patton was trying to start his career, and like this was his big first film, I think.
Well, I mean, we could talk about this forever, but one thing that really bothers me is when the writer goes, I didn't write, he screams like a girl. Like that always gets under my skin.
Yeah, this is in the documentary. Anyway, you can learn more about this event and purchase tickets through eventbrite.com. That's eventbrite.com. We're going to put a link in the episode description for this episode directly to get tickets for the event. Again, it is being put on by filmmaker Gregorio Davila. It is called Queer Diaspora, Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street. And we will be there. We'll be talking after the documentary with Nick and Joseph from the Fish Jelly podcast. And just having a good time. So you basically get to see a really moving, great documentary. You get to hear us talk. And so hopefully if you're in the LA area, you can come on down. I didn't even say the date. It's on Wednesday, October 16th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles. I guess that's on Los Feliz Boulevard.
Don't look at me.
I'm looking at Tim. I'm like, do we know where that is? I think it's near Los Feliz or in Los Feliz, but Wednesday, October 16th, 7 to 9 p.m. We will put the link to tickets in the description. We hope that we'll see you there. We don't do that many live things, and this is cool. So yeah, so we have that.
I don't even leave my house.
I mean, Tim doesn't even like to do recording live.
I don't even like to look at Matt.
How dare you? Okay, let's move on to today's movie. And boy, what a banger this was.
Wow, I loved it.
There it is, everyone.
Thank
you. So we are talking about The Substance today. And just to give you a little background on this movie, it has a theatrical release, but is it like, what do they call wide
mainstream
release? I don't know if it's in tons of theaters. It's really more of an independent type of movie.
It is in Los Angeles. I would have to look at like what's going on in Ohio.
I had heard before this that it got like at a film festival when it debuted that it got like a 9 or 13-minute standing ovation at the end.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. And I just want to know, like, I feel like after 3 to 5 minutes, you get it. The people liked it.
I don't think I've ever stood up and clapped for anything.
Really?
No.
Not at a show? Nothing?
I mean, maybe a Broadway show. Maybe.
Okay, well.
But not for
like a movie.
Well, yeah, I guess we do it for the curtain call.
Yeah, so you know.
I mean, maybe it was Demi Moore there. Did she get to have
because it was the premiere. It was at a film festival, and
that's all I care about. Because if you see this movie, all she wanted was people to say like, "You're wonderful, you're great."
I think Demi Moore gets enough of that. I think people love her. You know, it was it premiered at the film festival was it was Cannes. Oh my God. It was in May of this year. And so, you know, pretty prestigious film festival, gets a standing ovation. We heard it was body horror. So I was very excited to see this.
I mean, I'm not into body horror. Like, that's not my go-to when I go to the theater, but I was excited about this movie because I love anything about Hollywood and aging. But I mean, this is a very blanket statement that I probably should save to the end, but I'm going to say it now because my memory's short. I thought the tone of the film was going to be like the movie Crash. Do you remember that movie that came out?
Do you know I've never seen Crash?
Oh, it's disturbing. When did that come out? Like 96, 97?
Mid-90s.
Okay, and I thought it was going to be like Requiem of a Dream. You've seen that.
Oh, yes,
like,
that's disturbing.
It kind of reminded me of that.
I mean, there are some disturbing parts of this movie.
Like whenever he did drugs, like it was like...
Yes, like everything. The shock therapy, oh God.
But it was not... It has a very kind of comedic undertone.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of things about this movie that make it really stand out. Like, it is batshit crazy. It is incredibly gory. It's very well performed. It's very, like, one thing I noticed was, did you notice that even the colors and the sounds were so vibrant?
Yeah.
Like, whatever the sound design of this, like, you heard everything, chewing, stepping, knocking into things. And I know that was on purpose. Like, everything was so vibrant. And also there was a lot of like quick cuts and then also lingering shots. Like, it was very stylized in a way that made it really engaging. Like, you don't see a ton of films like this.
It was dreamlike. For me, I was like, gosh, this is so dreamy. I like, the only thing that was really, really, really missing for me was a good score.
I see. But didn't you just say the score for that documentary was dreamy? Maybe they should have put that score on.
No,
this.
Oh my God. If they would have put the composer, and he always does a good job. If they would have put him on this movie, it would have been amazing. Like, I think that was the one thing, if there's one thing missing for me in this movie, it's the score, because I think they have the good actresses, they have the good story, they have the good sets and everything, but the music was just kind of minimal, and maybe that was a artistic choice.
Yeah. So let's get in. So there are really three main characters in this movie, two specifically, but three. Demi Moore plays Elizabeth Sparkle. And I love that name.
Me
Elizabeth
too.
Sparkle.
Oh my gosh. And like at the beginning when they showed like the star getting like...
Yeah, wait, hold on
symbolic.
one sec, because I'm going to talk about that because that was a big part. There's also Margaret Qualley. She plays Sue. She's Andy McDowell's daughter, and Dennis Quaid plays Harvey, the sleazy network executive.
Think Dennis Quaid was the third? I didn't consider him even to be really
supportive.
So I mean, like,
supporting,
majorly supportive.
Yeah, yes. It's really mostly about the two women. He's kind of a supporting character. But so the very opening scene, you see an over easy egg. It gets injected with something, the yolk does, and it kind of morphs or births another yolk, which is a little more perfect than it. So you right away know, okay, I know what this movie's going to be about. Meaning, if you've seen the trailer and right away you can tell, okay, injection, it creates another self that's a little better. But then we get to, which I thought was a really cool scene, we see a Hollywood star on the Walk of Fame being made for Elizabeth Sparkle, and you see it being made, and first you see people walking around and they're so excited, and then time is passing, and it gets to the point where it cracks, and then someone spills like ketchup on it and smears it.
He drops a whole hamburger on it, and then he like picks it. It was really gross.
And in a way, just that scene alone for me had so much symbolism. Like you could watch just that scene and kind of know what it's about. It's like how things are shiny, and when things are shiny and new, everyone's excited about them.
Shiny and new.
Like a virgin.
Whee!
Touched for the very first time. Thank you, everyone.
Madonna.
So, when things are shiny and new, don't do it. Everyone's interested in them. And then as time goes by, they lose their novelty. They lose their gloss and things. Then suddenly people don't care as much, maybe. And then people just start to just forget about you. And so it's very true to life, true to Hollywood. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And it's like, if even you and I watched The Bachelor. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And the main thing that people come on, and in the 26 seasons, is like they want this like Instagram, TikTok life, and there's a shelf life. So like it's almost like we are currently, I mean, granted, the movie's not about reality TV stars, but the long run of a movie star, and there's not many left. I would say there's like George Clooney, Demi Moore,
Meryl Streep,
Julia Roberts, Eddie Murphy. There's some that have been around for 40 years.
Yeah.
But it's like we're coming to the end of like movie stars. Like that is betrayed in this movie, right?
Well,
Do you feel that?
well, it depends because it's hard to say because every 10 years, like there's a new group becomes the eldest and then,
Like
a
a
new
new
crop
class.
of night. Yeah, there's always like a new class. So I don't know if we'll ever come to the end. It depends. We're coming to the end of people that were big in like the 50s
right,
being
before
alive.
social media is what I'm trying to say.
Before, you mean the people that were big before social media
right,
still
all
being big?
Correct.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're getting to the point where social media has now been around for like almost 30 years, and we'll get to that. I think we still have a few decades, though, because even like the Demi Moores and stuff, Demi Moore's 61, we looked it up, so she's still got a good amount of time. Like, I mean, I think that maybe we have another decade or two of people that were big before social media.
What my big question watching this movie was she supposed to be 50 years old in this movie?
Yeah,
did
that's
they
what
say they
specifically? Yeah.
Dennis Quaid said that to her, right?
Well, yeah. Well, when we start the movie, we're introduced to Demi Moore, who's Elizabeth Sparkle, and she is teaching an exercise class on live TV. And did it to you look very 80s, or was it just
did.
me?
I think they were saying like, hey, she's been around since the 80s, and it reminded me of. Did your mom watch Jane Fonda's workout when you were growing up?
No, she did Sweat into the Oldies with
your mom
Richard
did.
Simmons.
That's very interesting. My mom,
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Jane Fonda was big in our house, and my mom actually did it.
I mean, I believe it because
house.
my mom did. It's like the VHS workouts. Yeah, of course.
I love it. I never partaked. I never partook in doing the actual exercise, but I'd watch my mom doing it. And
You're
I would
like,
hold
but
the
as
box.
I was eating a box of cookies, I watched my mom do it.
I mean, we'll get to this, but I mean, like, I've never been a person that's like, I am not capable of dieting. I'm just not. I will watch what I eat.
You're very lucky that you have a nice figure.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Well,
Yeah.
I can't believe you're hitting on me, right? I mean,
It's true.
It's too much.
True.
No, but I'm saying like, I can't possibly count my calories. The only thing I can do is just like watch what I eat. I mean, I'm like, okay, I have to use some self-control.
And then I have a big cookie. Yeah, I know. I've seen your quote unquote self-control. This is how Tim will come over and we're going to record and then he wants to eat and he's like, I should really have a salad. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we get salads, right? Hey, you want to get ice cream? Like that's Tim's thing. And I'm like, didn't we just have salad?
Right. Like I got to even it out somehow because I do have a major
sweet tooth.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
gotta feed it.
I have a sweet tooth also. Anyway, so Elizabeth Sparkle, she's teaching her exercise class, and she, right afterwards, that's when we find out it's her 50th birthday, and she gets fired on her birthday by the sleazy network executive, played by Dennis Quaid. And by the way, in the scene where he fires her, they're like sitting eating together, and
he's the only one eating.
It is so nauseating because, and they did it on purpose, but he's eating these shrimp, and you can hear every chew, every bite, and it's like,
ew. It was like no joke. I mean, the rest of the movie is pretty gross. This is the only scene that made me nauseous.
That scene did make me a little nauseous. Number one, I'm allergic to shrimp, so I can't have it anyway.
You would die.
Number two, like seeing anybody eat that uncomfortably was bad. But it's funny because he's kind of telling her, he doesn't give her a real reason. He's saying like, they need like someone younger and everything. And she kind of calls him out on it. And he just like quickly, like, I don't remember what he said, but he quickly gets out of answering her question. What I found really funny about this scene is that he's telling her, you're 50, done, too much. And then he goes and meets the rest of his executives, and they're all old men. So it's like when it comes to being male, no age is too old, but female, yes, there is.
No, it's terrible. It's the oldest
awful
horrible
double
standard of Hollywood. Forever, like men in suits making these decisions, which
can be any age.
Yeah, so it's the downfall of Hollywood for sure.
Yeah, and so and I'm sure very relatable to many actresses who have aged in this industry. With that said, she is very upset. She goes to drive home, and just her luck, she gets in a huge car accident,
which is so crazy to me. That scene was
jarring.
It was jarring, and there's such a wow factor. Wow, like she survived this.
Well, you see the car, it sideswipes her, and it is so violently well done. You feel like you're in the accident. Didn't you feel like
yeah.
it?
And I don't know how effective it would be on a small screen, but I couldn't figure out, and I mean, again, I already said this, but I could not figure out the tone of this film ever.
Well, yeah, it had a lot of tones. But when I talk car accident, you see her get slammed. The car like turns over and over. You're hearing all the. Remember, I told you at the beginning that all the sounds are very vibrant. You're hearing every part of this accident, and the miraculous thing is, she's totally fine. She's in the hospital. Not really even a scratch. Did she have a scratch?
Not one. I don't think she looked like she's been crying.
She was crying because she was fired on the birthday. But anyway, it's really funny. Her doctor says she's okay. And then this really cute male nurse.
With the prettiest eyes.
Prettiest blue eyes. The blackest eyes.
I knew you were going to say that.
You knew it. I'll always quote Halloween. He slips something into her very awesome yellow coat, which by the way shows up all throughout this movie.
I love that coat.
Oh,
and let
so
me tell
good.
you, and this is just a little, I actually was thinking like, I want to be Demi Moore for Halloween.
I mean, you mean which Demi Moore? The naked one,
cute,
yeah.
Not the naked
the
one,
yellow,
the cute yellow jacket and long-haired one.
This is one warning. You'll be really hot in that coat at my party.
You know what?
And I don't mean hot like ooh sexy.
Right.
I mean temperature.
Listen, you already hit on me once in this.
I know.
Okay?
I'm just saying it's dare I use the word fabulous coat? It really is. She has this movie star yellow coat with these big sunglasses, but this cute nurse slips something into her pocket. She finds out it's a USB drive, and it says the substance on it, and it says, "This changed my life."
And you know, he had the prettiest eyes, so she was like, I trust you.
I'm into it. So she goes home, she puts it on, and it's this really weird.
Wait,
I couldn't
before you go on to that, you have to talk about when she walks out of the hospital and she runs into that guy.
Oh, she runs into this old, I guess like either high school or college classmate.
High school 10th grade homeroom.
Oh, and he's like awkwardly like infatuated by her. He's like, "Oh my God, Elizabeth, you look better than ever." Now he seems like the sweetest, nicest guy, but she is not having it. She's a big star. She was in a car wreck. She was in a car wreck. She just got fired. But it's funny because he's just this ordinary guy showing her a lot of attention, and at this point, it's not good enough for her.
His name was Fred, right?
Yeah, good memory.
I know. It's my only skill.
Oh, stop.
High.
The substance, Tim. So she goes home, she puts in the USB drive, and like it's this very, I don't know, for some reason it's going to sound weird reference. It reminded me of the Total Recall video.
Yeah,
really?
Recall,
okay, good.
Recall.
When they're trying to sell you on that go on this vacation. Remember Total Recall? It's like this, go on this wonderful vacation. Anyway, great movie, Total Recall. But so the substance, they're like, do you want it to be, or do you want a younger, healthier, better looking version of yourself? Like, check out the substance. Like they barely say anything. It's just like, okay. And of course, right away, she throws it away because she's like, what the fuck is this thing?
Oh, but then
what caused her to actually go back through the trash to get it? I forgot. What happened? That I don't remember. Something makes her realize like, oh shit, I got to do this. She's feeling sad. She's feeling sorry for herself. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember.
She dug it out of the trash.
She did dig it out of the trash can because basically she is just like her whole life has been stardom and attention. And I think it's because she was kind of looking at herself in the mirror. There's a lot of great scenes where Demi Moore is just looking at herself in the mirror. I apologize, viewers who've seen this, what the reason was, but she digs it back out of the trash and she then decides to call the number on it. And it's so creepy. It's like, hello. And she just says she's interested, and it's like, go to, this address or something. She gets something in the mail. It's like a number, like a key card. And she goes to this creepy alley.
And our friend Hiko, who also saw it, he told us that it was filmed in France, right?
Yes.
It was not filmed in LA.
It's a French director, too.
I was like, okay, well, they had palm trees, which I'm sure they can just like film in LA and then edit them into Los Angeles. I mean, or vice versa that.
By the way, this director,
she's French, right?
Yes, she's French. And you may remember she did the film Revenge. It was a 2017 bloody horror movie.
You saw it, right?
I saw it. It was really good. Very violent. I mean, all just again, very batshit crazy, but memorable. One of those films that kind of sticks with you, very much like this film. Like it's a film you don't forget. I highly recommend it. It's called Revenge.
It sounds like maybe I did see it, but I think I'd remember it.
They're tough parts to watch, just like this. I mean, she's the victim of, I think it's a rape, and then she goes. It's very like I Spit on Your Grave type of thing, but done better.
I Spit on Your Grave 1 and 2, and I think the sequel has Daniel Franzi from Mean Girls.
Franzese.
Yeah, like he
Franzi.
Like a bird like plucks out his eyeball.
Oh yes, I think.
Did you see that one?
I think I may have seen it with you.
Oh yeah, maybe we saw it together.
We did.
Did we sit next to Marilyn Manson?
No.
I think I did.
Now you're just making shit up.
Yeah, I wonder.
Oh my God, did we sit next to Florence Henderson?
We did. She was like, God, I love this
She's
movie.
like, I Spit on Your Grave. Guys, I'm a big horror fan. Did
She
you
goes,
know?
Brady's in horror.
Oh, look, you guys, the Brady's and horror, just a marathon of all of them.
That's all I like.
Anyway, so she goes to this weird alley. She goes into this very sterile white room, and she gets this package out of it's like a locker.
She's got like a card to open it, and I found it very interesting is when she's opening the garage, like it makes her bend down to get in there.
Yeah, like they won't open. The door won't go up all the way, and she has to like duck under it. It looks like it's sketchy times 200, but she gets this like kit and she goes home, and it reminded me of like when you're opening your iPhone with Apple, because it's very simple instructions. Basically, they give her an applicator and it says single use only. Then they give her something that says stabilizer, and it says you need to do this each day for 7 days. And then it says very specifically, you must switch with your other self every 7 days, no exceptions. And it also gives her food packets that you have to basically plug into whichever self of you is not alive for those 7 days. And the last thing, actually, that was it. So it gives her all these things, and she just trusts it. She doesn't even ask anyone else's opinion.
I first off would have messed up those instructions immediately.
Oh, I know you would have.
Oh.
You would have been like 7 what? Whoops, and then you would have been a monster.
Like, what is this? What's that? What's this? But I mean, I got it. But I mean,
but
there's
it was
so
very
much room
simple.
for error.
It was so simple and so much room for error, and it's not like there's a doctor with her. She has to do all this herself.
Could you inject it in your arm the way she did?
No, I couldn't inject anything.
She knew exactly. She put that wire. Like, what's that thing to tie around when you do like meth? What's that? Like you like to get your vein.
It keeps your blood flow stay. It's like when you're giving blood to just
it's like a big
cut
wire?
off the blood flow. It's not a wire, it's like a rubber thing.
Rubber.
Yeah. And it just basically it stops the blood flow. But this is what happens. So the one thing it also says, remember, both versions of yourself after this procedure are you. They are not two separate people.
That is the key to this movie. Remember that.
Yes, both versions are you. There's no her and she and me. Both are you. So before Demi, I'm going to call her Demi because it's Demi Moore, decides to do this.
Call her Elizabeth.
There's this long scene in the bathroom where she's just looking at herself, and she is fully nude. Now, I just have to say, for both of the main actresses in this movie, and a lot of times we try to veer away from like talking about looks and stuff because it shouldn't be important. In this film, it very much is, because the camera has these long, lingering shots on their naked bodies,
right.
but it's not exploited.
Right. And normally, it's like a man, it's like a girl in the woods, blah, blah,
blah.
Or showering. But this movie this is the focus, and it's a woman director.
It's a woman director, but the whole point is that when we're seeing Demi Moore's fully naked body, and I'm talking butt, full frontal, boobs, everything, it's showing what a 50, well, she's actually 61-year-old's body looks like. Not everything is as tight and firm as like a 20-year-old's, and they're showing us. Now, with that said, I have to say, just personally, and I know I'm not a straight man, but I can recognize beauty in a woman, Demi Moore looks amazing for 61. Oh my God. So when she's playing this person who's not happy with their looks, I'm like, really?
Yeah, like Demi Moore probably has access in Hollywood to stuff not every human does.
You know what? I don't
fault her for that, though.
I don't even know. Maybe she's had surgery, maybe she hasn't. I don't even know. All I know is she looks incredible. And I know, though, that that's not the point. The point is that in everybody's mind, as they age, they see themselves differently.
Totally. As someone who's 3 years older than you.
2.5.
2.5 years older.
Oh my God.
And I'm wiser.
Yes.
No, my hair is totally gray right now, but I don't even care.
And that's the thing. You either embrace it, or you just like want to or you ignore it, or you run away from it by dyeing it.
A lot of gay men and women I know are very into Botox, and I don't want to say addicted, but I did know someone who was very much into getting a lot of procedures done. But one thing I really like about Demi Moore is like she's never been afraid of nudity. Like she was also naked in
Striptease.
No, she wasn't. That's the one.
I thought you showed her boobs.
If she does show her boobs, it's very, very brief. But like Striptease is like the one movie where you'd think it'd be all about nudity,
Yeah.
and she's not. But there's she does a sex scene with Rob Lowe, and it's called About Last Night. She has and then I feel like there's,
but it's not full frontal, right?
I felt like she was full frontal in About Last Night.
Well, I had not remembered seeing Demi Moore full frontal, and to see a 61-year-old woman not just comfortable with full frontal nudity, but these are long, lingering shots.
It's like it's a bathroom that's like bright white, like you can't hide anything.
Can't hide anything. But again, that is the point of this movie, because they want to show her all of her insecurities and how she looks at herself and her body as juxtaposed with the younger self, and we'll get to that. Anyway, so she injects herself with the applicator, which is filled with this glowing green liquid. And I don't know about you, but I don't think you should ever inject yourself with anything that's neon green.
Like there is some substance, no pun intended, that is green like that. What is that? And you put it in your car?
Oh, like coolant?
It looks like a coolant to me.
Oh, to me it looked like if you're having neon green, like Slimer punch from
or like,
Ghostbusters.
what's those things like when you go clubbing, the glow sticks?
Oh
green?
yes, it did look like glow stick, and you're not supposed to drink that fluid.
Oops.
So
Oops. No, but she does like inject it, and she kind of looks in the mirror like, okay, like I did all this, now what?
So then she has this, after she thinking that it's not working, she has this like horrible seizure where she is writhing on the ground as her back begins to literally open up.
Aliens.
And they do it practically. Or I read that the majority of the effects on this movie were practical, and then some, of course, have to be CGI. But her back opens up, and like another person is birthed out of her back. And it is so like unbelievably nuts, but at the same time, like, I bought it.
Yeah, I didn't mind. Like, I mean, I don't know the physicality of another human coming out of
your back,
but it was really, I don't want to say, it was really cool.
It was cool. Look, wow, tubular dude. No. I mean, and this thing morphs out of her back, and then Demi Moore is completely unconscious. And this thing gets up, and it's this beautiful woman, Margaret Qualley. It's like a younger version of Demi Moore. Beautiful blue eyes, like tight ass. I don't know if that just like beautiful boobs. I mean, and again, I'm only saying this because the camera specifically draws your attention to every bit of her body.
No, this movie has a lot of ass shots. Like
ass and puss. It showed a lot of puss too.
I saw that and I was like, oh dear, because that's something we don't see in everyday cinema.
Not everyday cinema, but like I'm glad that they showed it, because for a while, this other version of Demi Moore is looking at her naked body, because, it's like, oh my God, I'm this young, beautiful girl. And I just have to say, if you were the actress who played, how awesome is it to, hey, we're casting you as the young, beautiful, perfect self. Like, Can you imagine? Hey, Tim, we need to cast you as like a beautiful, perfect person. What do you think?
I'd say casting done right.
You'd say, duh.
No, I mean, as someone who's never been comfortable nude, I got to the point where I was numb to the nudity, and I was like, oh, like, I'm totally fine with this. And I think that's one thing with that American cinema. Trust me, I'm not like a cinephile. I'm just saying, like Americans have always been afraid of nudity.
Yep.
100%. Always. So I like that this French director just like, hey, we're showing you it all. And I think that in this particular story, it was fine.
I hate the difference between American cinema and European cinema. And I know this from first off, I spent a semester in London, so I would just watch normal TV in England where you could show boobs or butt and even cuss, and it wasn't censored. I'm talking regular TV. In America, though, it's like any bit of nudity, definitely can't show it. But violent, sure, blow anything up and tear people apart.
What's that show? And we might have talked about it on this podcast before, where they show all the naked people.
Like, you mean like, that game show thing on I can't remember the name, but like where people inspect each other nude to pick someone to date.
You become numb to it. So I think
it becomes like non-sexual because you're looking at it for so long.
Right.
Almost.
Like, so there's nothing sexual about that show really at all.
Well, I mean, it is a dating show,
right?
So
but I wasn't turned on.
Yeah, but it's because that show specifically gets average people, so it's not like six-pack abs or perfect boobs. It's like just average people that have no problem showing their naked body.
I think by seeing a bunch of average bodies, and then obviously seeing this movie, like it prepared me for this movie.
Well, the thing is, okay, so this younger version of herself, she calls herself Sue. No last name, by the way, just the whole time, Sue.
That was a really interesting because like Sue's not a very common name.
It's not a very young name either.
No, when I think of Sue, I think of like Sue Ellen from like Dallas.
I think of, God, and this is so dated. Remember those American Express commercials? Everybody needs some money sometime. And then he calls up his wife for money and he says, "Hello, Sue?" I can't believe I pulled that reference out.
No, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
If you know that reference, you're probably late 30s or 40s. I'm just saying,
and
which is
don't
okay.
Don't come near me because I only like to hang out with 20-year-olds.
Shut up, Elizabeth Sparkle. Anyway, so Sue, first she connects unconscious Demi Moore to those like food things, and then she kind of starts and you get to see a week of her life. Now, right away, what does she do? But she goes to audition for the replacement role to replace Elizabeth Sparkle.
I thought that was so brilliant because like, oh, this is what got her the thing out of the trash. She saw in the newspaper, it said, looking for a young Elizabeth Sparkle type.
Good memory. Yes, she sees the ad. It's like looking to be the next Elizabeth Sparkle. And she's like, oh my God, I'm still here.
And then she saw it in the trash and she goes, I know where I'm going today.
Yeah. So Sue goes to audition and right away, sleazy Dennis Quaid and everyone falls in love with her. Like everyone's tongue tied around her because she's so pretty. She's so, perfect, which is funny because at the beginning, she didn't speak much. And I'm like, wouldn't you want someone who's a little more articulate? But I missed no, because the point of this movie is all about looks, obviously, but they're all dumbfounded by her beauty. And, one thing we do see Sue's first week is that every day, in order to stay beautiful and normal, she has to extract fluid from Demi Moore's back while she's unconscious and put it into her. And it's called the stabilizer. And she has to do that once a day, each of the 7 days. And if she doesn't, her nose starts bleeding.
Yeah. Or like something
goes wrong.
Yeah.
So she gets this job, and it's funny, we kind of see her already. She gets this job, and in her first week, she switches after 7 days with with Elizabeth Sparkle, and Elizabeth Sparkle kind of wakes up, and it's kind of a normal exchange. They each get their 7 days, but you start noticing that Elizabeth is starting to retreat to being like a homebody. She's not leaving her house. She's just overeating. She's just watching TV.
Well, this was the big question that we discussed after seeing the movie. It was like, does Elizabeth Demi know what the young one is doing? And like, because yes, they are one, but are they like when they're out cold, do they... I mean,
no, I know what you're saying, and we both wondered this. So even though they're both like the same person, it's almost like they're different, like multi-personalities. They don't remember, like Sue doesn't remember what Elizabeth did. Elizabeth doesn't remember what Sue did, because when they each wake up and see how the other one left the place, they both look shocked.
Oh yeah, because she was like, "Oh my gosh, what a dump she's
like
living in."
Sue has been partying. So we get to one point,
or vice versa. The other one was eating like crazy.
Yeah. So we get to 1 week where Sue is now, she's going to be doing this new show. She's getting very popular. She's going to be a model, and it's at the end of her 7-day like time period, and she has a guy that came back with her, and she's about to have sex with them, but she needs to switch. So she goes in and instead takes like an extra day of serum from Demi Moore's back so she can have more time herself. But when Demi Moore wakes up the next time, she looks and she has one really gross old looking finger.
Funky finger.
A funky finger. And she calls up the substance line and like, she's like, what the fuck? And they're like, if you don't respect the balance of the 7 days, you have to pay for it by like basically your body aging.
Yeah, like I like that the movie reiterates like, hey, you are the same. Like,
so respect each other's balance.
Respect it, yeah.
But of course, the younger version doesn't, because she wants to party and do all that. So Elizabeth is not happy about this, but she doesn't, and they even say, you can terminate this experiment if you want. And she says, nah, I'm good.
She's addicted.
She's like addicted to it. And so, but she starts showing signs of like, she's really depressed. She's overeating. She's just eating everything. She doesn't care about anything. She's staying at home.
She finally opens a book that Dennis Quaid gave her called like Cooking.
It's like basically he said something like, oh, since you have all this time off, like, why don't you just cook or something? I can't believe
she put in like 50 years and like they give her that.
They give her a book after it. Yeah, exactly. Well, there's one part where, and this was such a good, memorable scene.
Oh, wait, can I say something? Before you go on with the story, story. I want to say, I wish the men that she dates in this film, there are parts where, no pun intended when
that
I say
Sue dates?
Sue dates,
the young guy.
were a little more fleshed out. And because like Demi does run into him.
Yeah, but they don't need to be because
I want them.
Why? I mean, they're just young, dumb, and hot.
I just want, hello, that's what I want to talk about.
Look at gay porn. No, I mean, like, this movie was about the two women. I didn't care about the men. Like,
no, I'm just saying, like, I wanted them to have like a relationships and like how they balance them, and like, because the girls weren't really getting attached to anyone.
Well, but I think that shows that Sue was was like a young girl that didn't care about a long-term relationship. She cared about fame and getting as much attention as she could. Anyway, so Sue, or sorry, Elizabeth Sparkle, she does try to, she's feeling like she sees there's a new billboard out with Sue's face on it. She took over the exercise show, and Elizabeth's feeling kind of like nobody wants me anymore. And she decides to call up that guy from the beginning, Fred, who was so into her that at first she thought was weird, but she's like, he thinks I'm so amazing, I'm going to go out with him. So there's this beautiful scene where she's getting ready for this date and she's in front of the mirror and she keeps trying makeup and she's never satisfied. She keeps putting more makeup on and then rubbing it off and doing it and rubbing it off.
She's adding a scarf, taking off the scarf, messing with the hair.
Yeah, and she finally just gives up and doesn't go on the date. And it's so funny because I think so many of us can relate to, you look in the mirror and you're just not seeing what you want to see. Like, even I think people that other people would say are so incredibly attractive, like Demi Moore, probably looks in the mirror and is like, this doesn't look good, and you're so critical of yourself.
It was the most realistic scene in the film.
Oh my God.
Because like everyone's like, Oscar buzz for Demi. I was like, okay, well, this is the scene, the Oscar worthy scene. The rest of the movie's kind of, a little out there, but this scene in particular was relatable
and so good, so well written, so well performed, and so relatable, and just such, like, again, the little nuances that Demi had to put in, the way she looks at herself, the way she rubs off the makeup, the way she reapplies, like, and it was, you're thinking like, just go, you look great, but she doesn't think that, and that's what's so important in this movie.
I know this scene was awesome, but if there was a flaw, it's like Demi Moore could still get any guy.
Of course.
But I love that
whole movie, the idea that like Demi
Fred's
Moore,
his only option,
or the idea that Demi Moore feels bad about her appearance when she looks so amazing. Yeah, a little tough, but I think the point was, it's more like even the most beautiful people, as they age, they don't see the same person in the mirror. They're not getting the same attention.
Because everyone remembers them at a certain age.
Exactly. And also, like, just like with the Hollywood star, like, it's when it's new and shiny, everyone's excited about it. And then when it loses its luster, suddenly you're not the new it thing. Yeah, exactly. Glimmer. So moving on the movie, as Sue gets more fame, she starts getting more greedy, and she starts deciding she doesn't want to switch every 7 days, and she starts abusing this balance and taking more and more fluid out of Demi Moore's back.
This is gross, and the audience would agree, because we were in an audience and they were getting grossed out because she keeps going into the back in the same hole
and
in the back.
Pus-filled.
It's disgusting. And the sound and just everything about that, there was a realism to it. It was just gross.
I think that was definitely gross, and the realism for me was that this girl with newfound fame, or the newfound fame version of her, is getting greedy with it, as many people do. But so when she finally does switch with Elizabeth wakes up and she has like gray hair. Her legs are all old and gross. She can barely move it, and she's aged so much. And she's like, "What the fuck?" Like, she is just like basically just deteriorating because Sue, her other self, is taking so much out of her.
She looks like The Fly. If you've ever seen 1986's,
actually, not that, we're not there yet. That's when she becomes so first she's old and stuff, and then they switch again, and then Elizabeth, she gets like this job, Sue, I keep saying the wrong fucking name. Sue, the young version, I'm just saying the young version, gets a job hosting a New Year's party, and she wants to prepare for it, and basically decides to stay as Sue for like 3 months, and she drains so much serum out of Demi Moore that it's the night before New Year's, and there's literally no more serum left. And Sue is like panicking. She calls the substance people, and she's like, "You have to switch and let her regenerate." So she switches, and Demi Moore has become this monstrous hunchback that can barely move.
Well, are you talking about New Year's Eve night?
Yes, New Year's Eve
okay.
night.
Well, you left out a really good scene when she goes and she puts on the blue dress and like she pulls out her teeth. Right?
No. You're way ahead.
Wait, am I jumping?
No. Okay, hold on. Okay. So Demi Moore is this old hunchback, gross version of herself. And she is so pissed that Sue has done this to us.
The cooking scene.
Yeah,
Got it.
She calls up Sue. She calls up the substance and she says she wants to terminate this now. And she goes and picks up this like injection to terminate Sue with like that. And as she's about to like terminate Sue, this is the night before New Year's, she just has a change of heart at the very last minute because she realizes like this is having this other self is like the only happiness she has. So she decides to not terminate her and she revives her. And then we get this weird scene where when she revives her, they both are conscious at the same time, which is crazy. Sue wakes up, sees the injection that she was almost going to be terminated, goes batshit crazy and starts beating the shit out of Demi Moore.
Oh, and she kicks her and there's blood. It splashes on her face. Oh, and there's also like a this huge picture of Demi Moore that is behind them and like like throughout the film it's there. It's just a reminder of like
cracked,
who Elizabeth Sparkle used to be.
So Sue literally beats Elizabeth Sparkle to death. Like honks her head in, and they show every bit of violence because she's so pissed that she was almost going to be terminated, even though she's the one who's been, draining her of all this and making her age. And she kicks the shit out of her to the point that she
can't move.
She kills Elizabeth Sparkle. And then she tries to go and, do her little New Year's thing the next day. Well, there's no more fluid to stabilize. And without that fluid, she starts falling apart, literally. And this is what Tim was talking about. She first starts losing her teeth.
And she pulls them out one by one.
Oh, it is rough to watch. You see it and you hear it. And it feels like, you don't want to hear or feel teeth
but those
coming
teeth
out.
Were really huge, so it was kind of like, okay, well, they're not going for exact accuracy.
Well, no. When have you ever had a teeth?
But does it have that much?
When a tooth is pulled and the whole root comes out, that's where that extra bit is.
That big.
It is that big. Yeah.
It's that big.
It's that big. That's what she said. So she also, one of her ears falls off. Her fingernail starts. So she starts panicking. She runs home. Remember, she's supposed to go on live for New Year's.
I don't know. Again, you have to disbelief or like
suspend your disbelief.
Yes,
yeah.
Because how far away is the studio to her house?
I know. She's
wearing the blue dress. I'm like, okay.
She gets there in like minutes, but she decides, big mistake. She finds the initial applicator Elizabeth Sparkle used, which said single use only, discard after use. And she remembers that is what initially made the better, beautiful, more younger self. So she thinks, I can inject it into myself, Sue, and make an even more beautiful version of myself. Well, again, you're not supposed to do that. So she injects herself with that, and she, out of her back, gives birth to this monstrous blob thing.
And it even flashes on the screen. It says monster, and then it has Elizabeth and Sue's name together.
It's called Monstro Eliza Sue, which I think is a great name. But she gives birth to this blob, gross, like... How would you describe it? Is that what you're saying? The Fly?
It reminds me of The Fly. And then also the movie Basket Case. Remember the movie we watched called Society?
A long time ago,
It's a Beverly Hills and they all like have this orgy.
Yes.
It reminded me of that. And it was just any kind of body like change.
Yeah. Any type of it's a blob figure that has features of both Elizabeth and Sue in all fucked up places, like a mouth in the wrong place, eyes in the wrong place.
And Demi Moore's face, just randomly.
Yeah. Randomly in the back, Demi Moore's face is there, just stuck to her back. And
then she goes up to that picture that's throughout the whole entire film. She breaks the glass and then she rips out Demi Moore's face. She puts it on and then she puts lipstick on the face of Demi Moore.
On the photo, yeah.
On the photo. And then she goes back into the elevator.
She goes back to the New Year's thing and she has a cutout photo of Demi Moore's face pasted to her face.
And there's like a random arm or leg hanging in the back.
Everything looks crazy. I don't know how no one stops her. She's able to go out on stage and then suddenly she's going to try to do the show, but she's this monstrous blob. And the photo of Demi Moore's face drops off her and the whole crowd goes nuts. And what proceeds after this is probably a 20-minute scene of absolute chaos and gore and craziness because the crowd starts going crazy.
And behind Demi is like dancers, which are topless. So I don't know if it's on.
Yeah, I don't know what network television.
Maybe it's French. It's very French.
Well, someone goes, and because they just think there's this monster, get rid of it. Someone goes and they decapitate the monster, and blood starts spewing everywhere, and it starts regenerating parts. First, it regenerates one single boob.
And it falls to the ground.
Yeah, and then it regenerates like part of a head, and it starts spraying the entire crowd with blood. It is the most insane scene I may have ever seen.
For a long time. And like, I don't know how much blood is in two people, but not that much.
The amount of blood that sprays out of this monster is buckets and buckets. Like the only movie this year I've seen that had this much blood was Abigail, you know, like with the vampires exploding and blood going everywhere. But this movie, I mean, it's monster,
off the chart.
It's spraying blood at everyone. It's regenerating tits. It's like everything is just complete chaos, and it's just total like nuts.
Right. And then this is when you're like, okay, like everything prior was a little crazy, but this is taking the cake.
This is what I will say before we get to the end is that a little, as much as I really like this movie and I really did like it, the ending got to be so absurd for me that it lost a little bit of
its muster.
Well, I don't want to say luster, but it lost a little bit of its meaning. And I guess I know it's an absurd movie, but I could take the whole birthing another self part and all of that. But when it got to the monster spraying blood on everyone in that chaotic scene, it was just too much for me.
Right.
I wasn't as into it.
But I didn't mind because I was like, how do you, like, I'm talking like film talk now, but how do you land this plane of this movie? I was like, okay, the movie's already a little absurd, but
I would have, to be honest, I would have preferred normal Sue going on stage and falling apart in front of the audience.
That would have been, I actually thought that was going to happen in her blue dress and like,
yeah, but her teeth falling off, her ears falling out, and her
like a
completely humiliated
woman falling apart.
Exactly, like humiliated on TV because she was so focused on being pretty. But I guess when they brought this extra monster in, and I get it, like the point in the movie, like even the young pretty one wasn't satisfied with her looks. Like you always want to be younger and prettier, and you're just going to become a monster because you're so fixated on looks. But it just was so over the top that I was laughing at it.
Okay, so you saw the ending, obviously, of Death Becomes Her when the two, Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep, fall to the ground and they just fall to pieces.
Yes.
So in this movie, she does the same thing.
Yes.
She goes out onto her star.
Yeah. So she finally, after this chaos, she leaves the building. This monster bloody thing falls down and like explodes on the ground to just a bunch of gore and mess. And that little bit that was Demi Moore's face in the back is able to break apart.
Like
crawls. It just happens to be right near Elizabeth Sparkle's star on the Walk of Fame. It crawls to that star and it just looks up at the sky and is like satisfied. It's just sitting on its own star.
And then it just turns to blood.
It just melts into the star. But then, which is even more depressing, is after it kind of melts into nothingness, grossness on the star, the next day they show a street cleaner wipe it clean.
And I thought to myself, would I like this movie if any other actress played Elizabeth Sparkle? And I think
would it have sparkled as much? Tim?
No, because there's a sadness to Demi Moore that I think people forgot, or at least this is where my brain was. Do you remember when her husband at the time, Ashton Kutcher, was on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah,
and she came out with like dressed as an old woman with a cane.
So she was like poking fun at their age difference.
Right. So she was like 40 at that time or something, like not that old.
Yeah.
But like she came out and like she was doing everything to please Ashton.
Yeah.
And like he turned out to be kind of a dickwad.
Yeah. I mean, and I remember thinking that was an odd relationship, especially after her marriage to Bruce Willis.
And she was sober for 30 years and like Ashton was like, have a drink.
Well, probably because he's a dumb kid that was partying.
I'm saying.
That's the thing. So
like he put Demi in I'm really mad at Ashton.
Yeah, you know what, Ashton? No, okay. So, and by the way, that's how the movie ends. The street cleaner cleans off the star. And the thing is that this movie had a lot to say, and I think it said it incredibly well, and I think the performances were incredible. I, like you, couldn't imagine anyone but Demi Moore in the role, even though, like we were saying, it was hard to see her as not seeing how beautiful she was. But again, a lot of beautiful stars as they're aging they're different. They don't see themselves the same
I mean,
way.
like, of course, Nicole Kidman could have played it, or Sarah Paulson.
I feel like Sarah Paulson's too young, and
Naomi Watts.
Nicole Kidman. I just don't see her being as. There were scenes where Demi Moore had to be
comedic,
like comedically angry when she was like this old hunchback. She was so angry at Sue for doing this to her, and I just felt like Demi Moore was great in this role.
She's so cool. I'm like, she's so cool. I've said cool a lot today.
God.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
Look, there's cool.
But like, you saw the Brat documentary.
Yeah.
She was the only one in that documentary to me that really sparkled.
Elizabeth, hey, why'd you use that word?
Don't ask me.
Yeah, but like, I think that this movie had a message, had something to say, and it said it well. My only critique of this movie was that the end. More boobs and puss. No, the only critique is there wasn't enough male nudity. No, they're just.
There was a male. How did we forget about that?
It was minor, but one of the hot guys that Sue is sleeping with, like, is naked for a second when he comes out of bed, and you see his butt.
They did kind of a cool thing, like they showed the monster's butt, and then they showed his butt.
Yeah, I know.
And you know what? It was weird. I was kind of like, what is that?
I know. Which butt is butt? Which butt is butt? That's
because
my new question.
all the girls have beautiful smooth butts, and all of a sudden they showed this like hairy.
They did. It was
ass.
the guy had a hairy butt, and again, maybe French. They don't care as much about that stuff. So I think my only critique, and this is just for me, is that the ending was so over the top that it lost some of its meaning for me, because when I start laughing at like the pure ridiculousness of it, it doesn't have as much of an effect on me. So that was the only thing I think I could have dealt without the last maybe 15 to 20 minutes, or I would have preferred an ending with Sue falling apart. But that's just my feeling. How about you? What do you think?
I think when the two ladies were fighting each other, I was like, oh, that could have been a good ending. But like, I really liked the idea. And I think you and I are on the same page with this. Is like her walking out on the stage wearing the blue dress and just falling apart.
Yeah.
But this really had the interaction of like the people screaming. Well, I thought it was kind of effed up. Like this guy took something and like chopped her head off.
Well,
I
yeah,
like,
I mean,
calm
yeah,
down.
I think they thought that. Well, I mean,
She's not gonna hurt anybody.
Well, she was a monster in that. Now, again, either literally or figuratively, if it's metaphorically that she was a monster, then yeah, he just went and decapitated her. But oh wait, hold on. But literally, if they're seeing a monster, they probably think it's going to kill all of them. So that's why they did.
I didn't feel threatened.
Oh well, I mean, it's true. I will say this. One thing we forgot to mention is that when she does birth this monstro or this monstro Eliza Sue figure, that is the first time that the monster looks in the mirror and looks happy. Did you notice it puts earrings on?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
It combed its hair, and for the first time, it was okay with itself.
And it was adorable.
And that kind of is saying something.
It was adorable.
It's almost like, I guess in a way it's saying like when you're at a point where you just don't give a shit about the way you look, that's when you can be happy.
That's when you're the most pretty.
So Tim, let's just look like monsters.
We
won't care. No, but it was, I mean, obviously it's making a point, because that was the only time either character looked in the mirror and was happy.
And you know what? My boss told me this. She said once, just love yourself. Like, because I was talking, I wasn't considering Botox, but we watch a lot of Housewives where that's just running rampant.
Yeah.
And she said, "I'll just love yourself." And I thought that really stuck with me. And so I will never inject a poison into my face.
Well, look, this is the way I feel about it. Like, I wouldn't either. I think that to each their own. If it gives you some sort of
I agree with
security or happiness that you need for that, totally fine, as long as you do it within reason. And because if you over abuse this, it could have some real health effects, but not just the beauty or weird looking, like you're injecting poison into your body. So, but with that said, though, yeah, like you gotta love yourself, and you gotta find people that you surround yourself that love you for you also, whether it's a partner, friends, family, because then you could be happy however you look. Do you know?
Or you could get a dog because they love you unconditionally.
Yeah, that's the thing. She didn't have a pet. Like if she had a pet, but again, we're looking at one.
Demi should have just gotten a dog.
Of course, if she had our dog Darla, she would have been loved herself.
Demi and Darla got a nice ring.
Double D's.
Yeah,
but really, if she had shit, but that's the problem. All she had was fame and her life in Hollywood and being on billboards and having that attention. And when she got fired and that was going to end, she had nothing else. So it's really sad when you think about it, because like, I think there are a lot of people in real life that are like this. Some of these people that we see on screen and think are like the hottest people, as they age, it's probably really tough for them, you know?
Totally. I mean, like, it's got to be hard. Like, and I think we've talked to, I think actually Mark Patton said this. He goes, I'm signing autographs that are like me at age 21 or 22. And it's got to be weird. Like, okay, well, here's me like in my 60s, 70s signing an autograph from when I was 25.
And that's tough. I mean, the only positive of that is that at least they're doing it because of a movie appearance. He's not signing like headshot, like model shots. He's signing parts, shots of him in Nightmare 2. Now, yes, he was young, but it's because that's when he did that movie. He's now started to do more recent movies like Swallowed, which we reviewed, and I think he wants to do more horror movies. So I'm sure now when he goes to conventions, he can sign.
That's another body movie. Body horror.
Exactly. So he can sign, shots from recent movies, and I think a lot of stars do that too. They try to have a variety. Now, yes, everyone's going to want the Nightmare on Elm Street 2 photos, but at least it's not like him shirtless in it. Like AKA the people are like the movie more than his appearance. I would think. Maybe I'm wrong, but yes, I think it must be tough for people to see constantly shots of them younger, but you have to be secure, I guess. And it's so important to surround yourself with people that make you feel secure.
And you know what, Matt? You're only young and beautiful once.
Well, that's depressing. I thought you were going to say, you know what, Matt, you make me feel good about myself.
Well, I was
try to get
that too.
Oh, okay. Oh, thanks, Tim.
You're welcome.
Where'd you think that up? That's a really great compliment.
Everything you just said was very inspirational, and I'm going to take that to heart when I get Botox.
I know, it's like you just made this big statement. Oh, guys, we have to take a 3-week break from the podcast because Tim's getting plastic surgery.
I'm getting a chemical peel.
Tim, butt job, boob job.
Butt job.
Do you know what the new butt job now is, like, that everyone talks about on
I love
TikTok?
My butt.
Okay. A BBL. Do you know what that is? Brazilian butt lift.
I mean, I guess that's just exactly lifting up your ass.
Yeah, okay. It is. Yeah, lifting up your ass. But I mean, it's meaning to be like higher and perkier. But that's like the new. It's like, oh, did you get a BBL? Like everyone says that on TikTok.
I always think it's weird when people take skin and put skin somewhere else.
Skin and skin.
Yeah, like don't do that.
Yeah, and sometimes when they need skin for things, they'll get it off your butt. So hey, Tim, I need some extra skin.
But
can I have
won't there be a scar on your butt?
Yes, but I think that skin, especially in your butt, heals. Like it doesn't scar up as much as like tighter skin, like skin on your arm. I don't know. I could be just making this up.
I know you are. You ain't no doctor.
I'm fucking making this up. But this is what I'll say about the substance. I highly recommend not only that you see this movie, but that you see it in the theater. And the reason why, and I don't know why I just said theater, like I was some snob, but it's because the reactions of the audience during, especially the last 20 minutes, are so fun and memorable.
3 people left.
Some people, yes. Tim just said it. I forgot about that. Some people were so grossed out they left. People were gasping. They were laughing. They were cheering. They were shrieking. And you gotta experience that. So go see it in a theater.
Here's the thing. Every single person ages. Every single person. So you could be like Joan Rivers and look great at the end. Yeah.
What did that have to do with seeing this movie in a theater?
I think Joan Rivers always looks good.
Joan Rivers well, you know what? I don't even want to go into that. I loved Joan Rivers. She was so funny. I remember her talk show. Like she was hilarious. And talk about like women who were one of the first in their industry. Was she like the first late night female
I think she
talk
took
show
over
host?
Johnny Carson. Yeah.
I know she didn't take over Johnny Carson.
There was that Johnny Carson, I guess, turned on her because she got her own Fox. I can't remember.
She got her own Fox?
She got her own Fox show, right?
Oh, well, I just know she had a talk show. I'm pretty sure Jay Leno took over Johnny Carson.
Right. No, I mean, I think Johnny Carson was mad at her because she used to fill in for Johnny, and then when she was about to go on her own, he's like, wait a second.
Okay, well, either way, she was like such like a pioneer for like
plastic surgery.
Well, for that, but I was gonna say for female comedians, female talk show hosts. Like in a way, it's almost like Jean Smart and Hacks is like a Joan Rivers, you know.
Yeah.
So she was great. But anyway, definitely see the substance. I will say, don't have a huge meal before you go because there are a lot of scenes that could make you nauseated, really.
For some reason, I didn't get nauseated. And there's a lot of barfing and a lot of like body.
There's
like,
a lot
ripping.
of body stuff.
Oh, and the sewing of Demi Moore's back. That was pretty gross.
There's a lot of body stuff. There's a lot of body fluids. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of guts. There's a lot of explosions, all that. So I would say maybe steer clear of too much food before seeing it, but see it with an audience. You'll enjoy it. And I'd be interested. I know that a lot of people are either absolutely loving it. I've heard it's very polarizing or thinking it's a complete mess.
Right.
And I really loved it. The end was just a little much for me, you know?
I agree with everything you just said. And I if you're just like a Joe Schmo person, like you just walk into any movie and see anything, this would be tough.
This would shock you. But I will say this, if you're a horror lover who listens to this podcast, which I assume you'd be a horror lover if you listen, if you have, and we say this sometimes, if you have non-horror loving friends, I feel like this is a movie, if they like weird, obscure shit, you could take them to, because it's not like this movie's scary. It's body horror. There's no scares. It's just body stuff.
They didn't go the route of like for jump scares or
not at all. There's nothing like that.
They're going to show you.
Yeah. Like everything that's scary is what these people do to their bodies.
And wasn't it interesting that they kind of had like the Saw set a little bit? It was like white with like the square tiles.
Like from the original Saw.
Right.
Yeah. Well, when the lights are that bright, like in her bathroom, it's white. You see everything. And I'm sure that's why they did that, so we could see everything on their bodies.
It was just, I'm not saying it was like Saw. I mean, in some ways it was.
Well, the last thing I'm going to say on this is that like, I really applaud Demi Moore and Margaret, I hate that can't pronounce her name, Qualley, because it's one thing to be naked in a film. It's one thing to be naked like on stage or on screen. But this was like lingering long camera shots, and like kudos to them for being fearless in a way.
Oh, and we forgot one scene where the young one, she pulls a chicken out of her belly button.
Yeah, there's a part where, because Elizabeth has been overeating so much, Sue's kind of feeling some of those effects, and she has this like blob in her body, and she ends up pulling it out, and it's a chicken wing.
Right, and like they're like
makes no sense.
And when she's doing her show, Pump It Up, like all of a sudden there's like something like pumps out of her butt.
Yeah, and it ends up being a chicken wing. So next time you see a bubble on your butt, it's just a chicken wing.
Yeah, don't be alarmed. Just pull it out of your belly button.
Anyway, okay, well, thanks everyone for listening.
Have a wonderful, beautiful day. You're beautiful.
You're beautiful. Wait, no, Tim, love yourself.
Love yourself.
Exactly. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of Happy Horror Time.
If you'd like to support the podcast, please sign up to be a patron at www.patreon.com/happyhorrortime. As a patron, you get access to all our bonus content, which now includes 2 new bonus episodes every month, a monthly after show mini episode, access to our Discord community so you can chat with us directly, and the chance to review a film with us in one of our bonus episodes.
Patrons also get all our regular episodes ad-free and a day early, our monthly newsletter, the chance to vote in polls, and autographed Happy Horror Time stickers.
I'm Matt Emmert.
And I'm Tim Murdoch.
And we hope you have a happy horror time.